Welcome to Ink and Insights, a highlight reel comic book show where we go over all of our favorite books and some of the books that you may have missed. I'm Nine Panel Grid, Eric, and with me as always is Stu, Dr. Doom's fan club. Stu, buddy, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. A little under the weather, but regardless, we have so many great books to talk about. Wanted to be here tonight. Great week for DC, so I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. You're putting a heck of a silver lining on this to you by Starbucks and Robitussin today because neither one of us are doing all that fantastic right now. But God forbid we miss an episode, and God forbid we miss these comics that we love so much. So we're here, chat for you today.
Absolutely, chat.
Yeah. So anything new and crazy happened for you this week here? It's been pretty slow. Holiday season's picking up for me. Trying to get I shouldn't even say last minute shopping. I'm trying to get like the very first steps of Christmas done so that I can actually present presents to my loving, caring family. It's not going great over here, man. Like, how are you doing? Is the season prep?
I gotta say, dude, yeah, we're in the best shape we've probably ever been for Christmas as far as presents, man. We got the majority of it done already, thanks to many sleepless nights with my wife on Amazon. Regardless, I'm glad that I'm not gonna have to really go out and face all the shopping craziness this year. We did most of it. That's the beauty of Amazon and catching these sales is doing it from home, trying to get it early enough. So thankful that we were able to do that this year and cover a lot of bases. So
the game has kind of changed, right? Like, I mean, I really truly do feel bad for like people that were in our parents' like circumstances because like they were out there putting in the sweat equity to try to get.
We were talking about it this morning at my work. I used to work at Circuit City, and I remember people just coming in like cattle moving into the pen when we opened the doors and getting into fights over portable DVD players. Look where we're at now technology wise, and it's crazy. And this isn't that long ago. I mean, granted, it is that long ago. I am that old, but 15, 20 years ago. And it's just wild to think back on how crazy people are going for certain technology then and all those sales. So I don't know.
Well, and back in the day too, like there was always that holiday present that was like the present to get that year, right? Like I remember, I've had vivid memories of the year that we got the Super Nintendo, right? Because that was the thing to absolutely get. It feels like that idea has kind of gone by the wayside. It's probably gone by the wayside for quite a while now. Like there isn't any big toy for kids that that is super popular.
That's so true, dude. That's so true.
Like,
that's very true. And I remember even when I was getting older with my sisters, it was Tickle Me Elmo. You know what I mean? Like it was
Elmo might have been the death of it.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's sad. I don't know. And I don't know. And I feel like it's rare these days when I go into a toy section at Walmart or Target that isn't completely picked clean. You know what I mean? It seems like they really struggle to keep things on shelves, whether it's collectors or whatever. But I don't know. It just doesn't. It feels like the quality is crazier, and I would have killed several men for some of these figures when I was a child. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, no kidding.
Incredible. The articulation, you could have given me this articulation back in '93. Are you kidding me? But yeah, I feel like the industry has come so far in so many ways, but at the same time is kind of hamstrung when you think about what it was in the 90s and its true glory days. But I think it's still a booming business nonetheless. I just don't know if it means as much to kids as it once did. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's the case. Yeah. It's just totally different landscape, totally different environment, but c'est la vie, times change, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, before we get into the books here, we see that we already have some great people rocking with us here, starting with Rogue Collecting. Nice to see you, buddy, man.
Rogue, what up, bro?
Next up, we got Simpleton DC. Simpleton, great seeing you, bud.
Dude,
I can't wait to see some of these books that you are teasing us with on the IG. So keep doing that stuff, man. Always appreciate seeing you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got Miss Christina Payne. Christina,
what up?
Love seeing you. Well. Let's see. We got the trolliest of trolls right here, Nick. We appreciate you, Nick. Jesus. Let's see who else we got rocking with us here. We got Edson EO. Edson, nice seeing you, buddy.
Bro, I definitely want one of those Doom prints. I'm gonna send you my address. I got to get back to you on Insta. Thank you for reaching out.
You're gonna have to tell me what this is all about here.
He sent me. He makes he's an artist, man. He was like, you want one of these MF Doom prints that he made? And I was like, oh shit, I got to get on that. Yeah.
Not just Doom, but MF Doom. I can get down with that.
MF Doom, absolutely. I'll hook you up. Yeah.
Oh, all right. We got Talk with us. Talk, nice seeing you,
Talk,
buddy.
what up, bro?
Let's see. Nick saying all the kids want nowadays are V. I don't even know what that is. Is that a skibbity thing? That's all I can say. I don't know. And I don't even know what that is. My kid tells me shut up, Dad, like every single time.
Roblox or Minecraft, isn't it? Or something like that? I don't know.
Dude, maybe. Fortnite? I don't know. I'm so old and lame. Jesus.
I know. Same.
And I think that catches us up here. So as our buddy, here we go. Yeah. Fortnite currency. Okay. Fortnite what's currency. A Fortnite? I don't know. I'm so old.
Oh, and Edson said he'll hook us both up. Appreciate you.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. I appreciate you. Appreciate you even more now. All right. So as Nick alluded to here, let's just dive right into the books here, skipping right the heck over Marvel, because the honest God truth is they didn't have a book that either one of us felt was at the standard that DC put out last week, because dang, did DC come out with some bangers last week here, starting with Absolute Wonder Woman #2, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Hayden Sherman, coloring by Jordi Belair. I'm really digging the colors on this, by the way. I think that Jordi Belair and Hayden Sherman are doing fantastic work here. Yes, and letters by Becca Carey. So diving into the book here, it really picks up right on the heels of what we saw at the very ending of issue #1, where the big Lovecraftian monster is right on the precipice of hitting the city, right? And Diana goes right into action. I love how they go about her. I don't want to say her new power set, but kind of like the differences. And, she doesn't have the lasso of truth right now. She basically, for all intents and purposes, has like the penance stare of the Ghost Rider, like imbued into her lasso, and she's using that against this monster. Loved that fight. I love the way that Hayden Sherman framed everything about it. But if this issue was about anything in particular, it's very truly about the relationship between Diana and Steve Trevor in this absolute universe. And they spend so much time dealing with that. So she takes care of the monster, because of course she takes care of the monster. That's what Diana can do, right? You wouldn't expect anything less. But when she's confronted with this person that she has a relationship with, it stops her right in her tracks. And I love that. From there, we kind of do a little bit of a flashback where she is still with Circe, she's still in hell, and she finds Steve Trevor washed up on the shores of hell, basically, realizing that something, terrible must have happened, but they're able to kind of nurse him back to health. They develop this, relationship, this back and forth here. And we don't really get delivered how he gets out of hell and how he kind of, regains his, his life, right? His world amongst the, him being amongst the world of the living. But we do find that we flash forward again and we see them kind of, catch up with one another. And being that he's a military man, he pulls her into the fold and says, okay, let's talk about, what's happening here. Let's talk about what your plan is, and let's bring you into the fold about how the military is planning on, conducting their actions here. But you need to know, these are strong-willed people that have a plan. They don't take no for an answer, and they are not going to take kindly to you being A, not from America, B, an outsider, and C, a woman. And she's just like, I don't think you understand who I am. I'm Diana. I was raised in hell. I am the last of the Amazonians. These people do not frighten me whatsoever. And that seems like it's a clear-cut jump to where something comedic is going to happen, and she kind of falls back on her heels, and she kind of gets a tongue lashing. I love the fact that they don't do that. So the dude is kind of, the sergeant, if you will, is going after her, saying, this is the way we deal with it in the U.S. Marines, and we're going to take, you're taking orders from us. We're taking control of the situation here. And she basically just stops him right there and says, no. You don't understand. This is who I am. you are working at my pleasure right now. I'm the one that is the all-powerful one. So this is how we are going to do it, and this is how things are going to actually happen. Now, the rest assured, though, of course, even she doesn't have every single plan in place, because as the issue ends, we're kind of revealed that the thing that she was battling previously, and she knew this previously, was only the harbinger, right? This was basically just the thing that was coming to kind of scope out the situation and say, okay, well, can the big bad actually show up? And as you can see in the final panels here on the right, she's looking up and she says, remember how I told you to, evacuate the last 2 blocks? I think you better make it the last 2 cities coming through, because this is way worse than I ever thought it would be. And we cut to the final image of this big beast, which I left off intentionally because I don't want to spoil anyone too much.
Yeah.
But it's so cool, such an amazing artistic approach that Hayden is taking with this book. I had so much fun. I continue to have so much fun with each and every issue of Absolute Wonder Woman. I think it's kind of like the best balance between new approaches, good storytelling, great art. Like it's just kind of like it's the total package for a book. Stu, I know you already read this, man. So what were your thoughts on this?
Excuse me. Yeah, I loved it, dude. I love the lasso nemesis. I love the name of it. Yeah. I love that it's her description of it, made by Cersei, fashioned from the remains of the last basilisk and infused with the blood of Prometheus. It was just so badass, dude. And then when she wraps around the harbinger and she brings him close for some shit talking, she's like, "Now take your ass back and don't come back for another millennium or 2." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she does their little Game of Thrones moment. I am Diana, Witch of the Wild Isle. This universe is under my protection. It was fantastic, dude. And like you said, Sherman's art, the way he frames these action panels is just so well. I love his approach to design and layout throughout this book. But yeah, dude, Steve Trevor, I got a question for you, man. Like, I found a couple things interesting with him. When he comes out back with the general has a line like, America might think you're some superhero meets Jesus, but I don't. And then when she's feeding Pegasus out back, how is he alive? And she says, like, magic and sacrifice, like you. I'm just curious, what do you think, like, his whole story is? I know we're going to get it here in future issues, but do you think he has superpowers, or like is a more, because in almost every version of that we've gotten of him, he's a GI Joe type. So do you think he's going to be something next level, something metahuman in this one? Because like you said, we don't know how he got out of hell into the living. So I don't know. I found those 2 little lines curious about him and made me wonder, So what's your opinion on that?
Well, it's definitely the most enticing part of the issue, right? There's so many good things about this issue, but that was the mystery, and that's the hook that's going to get you to come back for more, because we need to know exactly what's happening there. What my hypothesis is, dude, I'm kind of happy that I don't have one, because this universe does feel open enough and daring enough that it could go in any direction. It could be that he's a superpowered person. If I was like leaning on the storytelling part of my brain, and the part of my brain that like has read comic books for 20 30 plus years at this point, I would imagine that whatever has brought him back is going to be the catalyst for the thing that takes him away in the future, right? So whatever that sacrifice is, it's going to put Diana in a place where she has to either take that ability away that keeps him alive, or it basically make the hard choice, right? Is it the world or is it Steve? That's what I feel like will eventually come down the pipeline.
Oh yeah. But I don't know. I think he's definitely going to be like super powered, or have, I think this trip to hell and him getting out of it is going to have definitely changed him in some way. But I hope they don't give us too much too early, and they let Diana keep the center stage. I'm kind of, it's cool that we got Steve, but I didn't need Steve this early. But regardless, this was cool. I did find it funny, her conversation with the general, though, when he's like waist high on her, just like trying to let her have it. And I also love the way Sherman in this one, he got very emotive. We got a lot of close-ups, a lot, like, whether it's Cersei's like sly smile down in hell when Diana's asking her, you know, is he a gift, you know, whatever, and Cersei's like, girl, you got a crush on. But in Diana's eyes also, like, you know, when she's with Steve, she's very like, you know, they're bright blue and very vulnerable, and like, you know, I love when she like finally like bears down on the general, they're all black, you know what I mean? And she's like, I just love the way you know, Sherman switches up like that. I thought he did a really good job, both with like the grandiose action and the close-ups in this one. But yeah, man, I love the Pegasus scene was one of my favorites. Feeding him magic, finding out that it's the original one who was slain by Zeus, and I love that like little bit of history, and that was really cool. Like, nah, Steve, this is the original, like this is the OG, and he's like, what? And dude, like her line at the end, sisters, if I don't find you in this world, I will find you in the next. It was like, I got Gladiator vibes, man. That one shivers down my spine. So, and dude, that like compared with the artwork, like you said, that we got in those final couple pages, dude. A1, such a great issue, just as good, if not as good as the opening salvo. So I'm so here for it, man. And I see why this is so many people's favorite absolute book. How it beats out Batman, because I think it's such a unique, awesome, wonderful take on the character, and something just badass and brand new, dude, and everything you would want from the Absolute Universe launch. So,
dude, the harshest critique.
Props to everybody involved. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, the harshest critique I can give this book is that it is so incredibly difficult picking out panels to showcase about the book, because the honest to God truth is I just want to paste 22 pages on the slides that we show, because there is not a single missed opportunity. Like you had mentioned it previously, right? The difference between Diana when she's talking to the general to when she's talking to Steve. Dude, like Hayden has such a really wonderful grasp on showing the right emotion for all of these characters and presenting it in such a wonderful way on the pages that make, again, like the writing does so much of it too, but man, it's like such a perfect pairing, because you feel every single thing that is going on between all of the characters, and nothing feels hokey or cheesy or overwrought. It's just so good.
I love like that joy on her face when Steve's like, can you go help me investigate the area? And she's like, you know what I mean? It's just like,
yes,
it was so real and true to the character in the moment, man. It was great. And then like you said, like that panel on the top right there, when her eyes get all black dark and she tells the general what it's going to be. It's like, man, she can flip the switch just like that. It's fantastic. And so can Hayden, obviously.
Yeah. All right, let's see what the chat's saying about this issue here. We got Nick. Do you guys feel like enough things are different in the Absolute books, being as they're supposed to be from the Dark Side universe? If you're talking about the entirety of what we've been given in Absolute, I want to say yes, right? But it's teeter-tottering. I feel like it's something that you really need to look at on an individual level for each and every book. Superman, I feel like, is the one playing it the safest, which doesn't by any means mean that it's not worthwhile, but I think it's so close to our original mythology, whereas Wonder Woman is deviating pretty heavily on the other side. The heroic nature of Diana is still the same. It's just the place setting is all different, is completely different. Whereas Batman feels like it's a nice mix between those two things. And I've heard some critique about, well, like Bruce is supposed to be broke, but if he's broke, how does he afford this stuff? I don't care. Like that's my personal opinion, and you can care. I'm not saying that I'm right and anyone else is wrong, but I just don't care. Like if you give me enough, show me enough where Bruce is, for all intents and purposes, poor. I don't care how he got a construction vehicle Batmobile, because it's comics. Like, I mean, every single one of these comic book characters shouldn't be able to do any of these things.
Yeah, I think I would say Absolute Wonder Woman has felt like the most like a world without hope, dark side type of universe. You know what I mean? But I think that's mainly because of like the Harbinger Prime and all of that inclusion, and just like the nature of the character. I am curious to see, like, if they all will eventually, kind of come together and share share a story and how that might look, because Batman seems very Gotham centric right now. You know what I mean? So I don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you about Superman. It does feel like he's playing it the safest, and it feels like, I guess, the less different of the three, but I still think they're all doing cool, great things, and all three books have been a success for me. So
yeah, the craziest thing for me, and I by no means do I want to turn this into an absolute conversation. There's better shows for that, but I did want to say that Absolute Batman, oddly enough, feels like the most hopeful of the books, whereas everything else feels very dire and feels very dark. Like that one, there's glimmers of hope, even though there's different things that are going on. So I thought that was a really interesting thing.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what else we got going on here? So far, the core of all these characters remain the same, but their origins might be a little bit different. The world that they're in is also different, but they act relatively the same as they normally would. Yeah, absolutely agree. What else we got here? I thought everyone in this world knows who Darkseid is, but I guess they don't, because they're really surprised when they see all of his creatures. So it seems as though nothing has ever gone wrong like this. I don't know if they know who Darkseid is, because the biggest clue that we've gotten so far has been when Booster Gold went into the Absolute Universe and witnessed Darkseid, but he knew Darkseid because there is history there from DC Prime. Now, I mean, I could have been missing pieces. Lord knows that I don't pick up on every little cue on every single one of these books, but that's the biggest thing that I have noticed. So it very well could be that they don't know who Darkseid is.
Yeah, what book do you think it's going to be? Justice League, the book that kind of like takes the torch from the All In special and kind of runs with it as far as like the themes of that?
I mean, it makes the most sense, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I got a couple questions about that, but I'll wait till we get to Justice League to ask them.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Spoilers. We might have another book coming down the pipeline here. Speaking of which, here, let's move on to our next book, though, which is Detective 91, written by Tom Taylor with art by Mikel Hanin, who I believe I'm pronouncing their name correctly this time. Time will tell on that one. Yeah, exactly. I put colors by Matt Wilson, but I believe that Hanin actually does his own coloring here as well. I flipped these two. Yeah, it's letters by Matt Wilson here, colors by Mikel Hanin here. So whoops on me. But let's move along here. The story picks up as Bruce he's kind of like ruminating over the events that have just previously happened, where he was, basically trying to save these, children who were committing a crime here. Didn't know that they were children by any means, but couldn't really do anything about it. And now he's kind of stuck within his own head, wondering about the possibilities of everything that could have happened and how things could have played out differently. And, we're kind of still dealing with the same thing where Bruce he's struggling with his mortality, which is not a concept that we have never explored before. When we have, wonderful things within the Bat universe, like the Lazarus Pit, Lord knows we would have, kind of delved into those ideas previously. But I do think that Tom Taylor is crafting an interesting story with something to tell based on that. We kind of, pick up those themes here a little bit later as Bruce and Damian are taking out this truck full of criminals here. And Bruce is kind of just, he's feeling it, right? He's feeling the heaviness of, just kind of moving his body in certain ways. He's talking about how in his younger years, he didn't have to, pull his punches in certain ways, not necessarily to stop the attack on the person that he's attacking, like not trying to like stop it from like breaking a bone or something like that, but really trying to like mitigate any kind of injury that he can give for himself. We're basically seeing the Bruce just like us, where we accidentally like pick up a bag that's maybe too heavy and we get up too quick and we pull our back out, or God forbid we sneeze, right? And then we're off of work for a week because we're in bed with icy hot. That's the Bruce that we're dealing with right now. But Bruce is kind of he's trying to figure out, well, what does this mean? What do I need to do to make sure that the mission continues? And he's talking to Clark about this. Clark is still, the beacon of hope, right? Bruce he's the dark, demeanor of everything. But he's trying to say, hey, is there justification for this? I understand my level of privilege, not only as a superhero and a member of the Justice League, but also as Bruce Wayne, billionaire. So is it right for me to do this? Am I justified in doing these kind of things? And Clark's just like, yes, absolutely. You're justified, not because you're Batman, not because you're Bruce Wayne, but because you're a good person. And if Bruce Wayne can find a way to give this to the masses, then Bruce Wayne will find a way to give this to the masses. Like, don't act a fool. Like, do what you know is right. So with that being said, he takes his first steps. He takes this medicine, which is supposed to be this, MacGuffin, magical, rejuvenating thing that a character from his past has developed, and wants to really make him kind of the show pony for the medicine, basically. So she's very clear that she wants to be the person that administers it. She's very clear that she wants to have a hand in all of this, which, of course, like, is enough to make you side-eye the character, let alone the fact that she has purple hair. Never trust one with purple hair. Never. It's not gonna turn out good for you. But you can already see it starting to take effect here. He's even talking to Damien. Damien kind of comes up to him and he's just like, yo, Dad, you've been asleep. Like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I think I actually feel really good. He's like, yeah, you've been asleep for like 11 hours. He's like, I think maybe I'm really good, right? And the injury that he had succumbed to in the truck previously, which was like an MCL tear, like not a thing that you bounce back from, is all good. So clearly, whatever the medicine is doing, it's doing its job. It's rejuvenating him. It's kind of bringing him back to a place where he can be Batman in the way he wants to be Batman. And he takes the thing that they were going in the truck for was basically the money that was taken from Oswald Cobblepot, better known as the Penguin. And he was trying to basically put an end to the thing that started all of this off, which was the child who took the money originally, who ended up getting shot. He returns it to Oswald. He says, basically, I'll give it back to you as long as you can prove to me that it wasn't, you didn't come by this money through crime. And of course, Oswald's like, take the money, get out of my face, right? I'm not gonna like, give you what you want, and I would rather not have what I need. So the issue ends there. Bruce has kind of succumbed to taking the medicine. We know that things definitely are not going to work out to his benefit from this. But Stu, tell me, what were your opinions on where we're going in this story?
Bro, I gotta agree with Nick in the comments. I feel like Bruce would want to. He said, I feel like Bruce would want to investigate this medication further before he trusts this lady. Bro, it just seemed like he went to Superman. He's like, bro, should I do it? Superman's like, yeah, bro, live forever with me. Why not? YOLO. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, all right, why not? But it seems like he tests this medication with nobody, or at least not in any panels or pages we see. So it's wild that he just hops in the chair, and then he hops in the chair. He gets it. He gets the medication, and he's out for 11 hours. That just feels like so like against the nature of Bruce and a Batman, just be slumped out in the chair for 11 hours. So it's like, yeah, man, I don't know that. All right. So I love the issue before this and the way they set up things with Thomas and Martha, and how, the Joe Chill angle of this story. He's in here somewhere, right? His offspring, or, I don't know. Did he have a reason? And like some of these offspring or these kids that Thomas Wayne had a hand in saving, or had a hand in changing their lives, are they a part of this story, and how? So I really think like that part of Batman's mythos is really cool, but this one, it just felt like, I don't know, it felt like a little bit rushed, and it felt like a little bit against the nature of what I know Batman to be. But that said, I still thought. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, I'm glad that you said it feels against the, what you feel like Batman should be, because I don't want to get away from Nick's comment too much here either, because here, which one was it? Oh, I lost the comment already. All right, it jumped on me. But anyway, when Nick was saying it feels out of character for Batman here. Here's the thing I'll say. We've been in similar situations. Stu, we had the pleasure of attending Heroes Con together, and I've been in a situation where I had to look Nick in the eye and be like, man, I don't know if I should buy this piece of art. I don't think this is, I'm really questioning whether or not this is the morally right decision for my wallet to make. And you know what? He Clark Kented the heck out of me, and he was just like, buy it, dude. And then we high-fived, and then I bought it. So like, where is the moral justification for
Bro,
him to
but
say that Bruce is acting on a
that's a piece of art at Heroes. This is like a random immortality drug from a purple-haired lady that you just met. Like, you know what I mean? Who may have mysterious ties to your past or your father. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
You don't know my relationship to these artists that we met. Come on. And you haven't lived until you've licked every
All I
piece
know
of
is I do know
this.
I do know one purple-haired woman that Nick would definitely take an immortality drug from. You know what I mean?
You make a good point. You make a good point.
You know what I mean? So
yes,
I don't know. There's a little bit of hypocrisy there. I'll put it that way. Yeah. I think if Miss Frizen came to him saying that he could live forever, he would roll up his sleeve right away. Yeah, dude, but I don't know. It did certain parts of it I did like, I guess, in the previous issue when he was talking about where he's coming from. You know, I've rejected all manner of technological augmentation and, you know, rings fueled by willpower and all that stuff. But, you know, he made it sound like a purely medical source. I don't know. I just never got that from this woman. And, you know, I don't know. All that seemed kind of hurried along and not explained well enough for me. That was my one hang up with this issue, because I thought Taylor's intro in the previous one in 1090 was really strong. And I love how he's, like I said, like how he's playing with the history here. What did you think about this new possible villain that we're getting here? Are you liking it? This person that's taking out all these young criminals in Gotham.
You know, I mean, it's too early to really make a determination. Like, I'm not opposed to it, right? I mean, I think that it's always going to be, at least there's going to be some level of excitement when you get a new character, but it's not about the introduction of that character so much as it's how long, like, do they have legs, basically, right? I don't want another designer. I don't want another Miracle Molly. I'm sorry. I'm gonna like list a bunch of Tynan, you know, characters, but that's the most recent one. Like, if it's gonna be a character, make it meaningful and make it something that's worthwhile, that like really spans your run, or at least gets a good, like, you know, I don't know, 12 issues maybe. Like, and I think that Tom Taylor did a good job with that, because in his Nightwing run, he introduced the what was that character's name?
Heartless? Are you talking about the villain?
And Heartless did.
Oh. You just froze on me, bud. I think you froze on me. But yeah, are you there?
I'm here again.
Okay,
yeah,
no,
speed bump.
Yeah. What were you saying about Heartless?
Well, just that it was a character that was introduced in the very beginning of Tom Taylor's Nightwing run, and it ran the gamut. It took us from all the way from the start to the ending of that particular run. So, given that he has a history of kind of like, I don't know, at least honoring those characters, then maybe, you know, he'll be able to do the same here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I did not know he brought Heartless back, dude, because I didn't. I got to go back and finish up that run, but I'm probably about halfway, or maybe a little bit more than halfway through. I just kind of got led astray on it and didn't get back to it. But yeah, I was wondering what he was going to do with that, because he kind of left him. He brought him out, and then he kind of left him dormant there for a good part of the run, and then so it's good to know that he brought him back in the end and gave it some resolution.
I think he started having too much fun with the gimmicks, right? Like
the pirate ship, thing was like But dude, what him and Redondo did in the early part of that run was incredible, man. There was some really amazing issues from a design standpoint, and like there was that one issue I think where it's just a chase and it's all double page spreads or something like that. I forget what it is specifically, what the artistic device used is, but like they just did so many creative and daring things in the early part of that run. So yeah, always be nostalgic for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
This one's good though. So far, I can't, like, is he going to be on the run for a long time?
I'm hoping so. I feel like I had heard that Scott Snyder on Absolute Batman gave like a 2-year commitment on it for both him and Dragato. So I'm hoping that all of the new DC teams kind of have something similar. I mean, at least a year. But I mean, whatever. There's no telling on this stuff, right? It all depends on the sales. But with the hype that DC has been producing, I mean, that has to be equating to sales. So if the sales are there, the teams are going to stay.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. We had a couple more people jump in here since we've been talking detective. We got Chill Out Man. Station, everyone. Station, back to you, Chill.
Yeah, station, brother. Good
Appreciate
to see you.
All right, what else? Let's see here. We got Gore hanging with us here. What's going on, Gore? Hanina is an exceptional artist at the LCS, which Marvel is heavy in the clientele. DC gets accolades for its artists. Deep disappointment with... Yes. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't have put it better. Marvel, I don't think that they have bad artists necessarily, but Stu, you and I have talked about this multiple times in the past as well. It feels like a house brand. Nothing necessarily stands out and is unique to Marvel. If you get Marvel, you get really good house brand, or you get whatever, somewhere in the middle tier, right? Like people like Pepe Larraz, like if you get him on a book, then it looks really great. I love seeing that, but everything else is kind of like, dollar store Larraz, and that's not fair, right? I mean, that doesn't, it can lead to a better flow for continuity from book to book because it feels like the same universe, but it also just leaves things so incredibly boring, and that's not fair to us as readers, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look at the books we're looking at this week and the artists on the DC, like the titles, Hanine and Dan Mora and Montos. And I mean, it's just their roster is, it's, you can't really compare the two. And it's no industry secret that they pay better and they're willing to go the extra mile for their creators. And I think, the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. And the fact that we know that as readers speaks volumes, right? Because if they wanted to keep that behind closed doors, they absolutely could, right? So
absolutely,
who knows what else is going on and within the big two that makes these changes happen. But we also have Verno hanging with us.
Station, brother.
Love seeing you, Vern.
Hope you're doing well.
All right. And I stand by my coaxing into you buying that Frizzen piece. Whatever, dude. All right. Let's see here. What else do we got? So, of course, people talking about my speed bump, because why not? Gosh, the internet. But more importantly than my internet speed bump, we got Sal with us. Sal, nice seeing you, bud.
Sal, what up, brother? Good to see you.
All right. I think we got time for the next issue here. You ready to move on?
Yeah, man.
All right. Next up, the one that I was arguably most excited
super hype for. Yeah.
Yes, the hype was real. We have Green Arrow number 18, written by Chris Condon with art by Montos. What's the deal with these one-named artists, though? Like, can we talk about that? Can we take a split second? Like, there ain't no princes out here. Like, this is
come on, man.
Little. No,
come on, dude. That's a creator's right, man. Let him go. Let him go one day.
If we get symbols out there for names, I'm gonna be a little bit mad. You got to earn it.
What about Mobius? So you got a problem with Mobius? Is that what you're saying?
Mobius. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. If I'm going to start fights, if we're going to start a conversation about it, we can do that.
I didn't really know that you had just the seething hate for
all I'm saying is you got to earn it. All right, earn the one nameness. Right.
I can't wait till we run into some at Heroes, man. I'm gonna
let me tell you what this guy thinks.
Yeah, I'm gonna exploit this for everything I can. Absolutely.
All right, so we pick up the issue with crime, right? And I love that this is how we start the issue. This is a very basic crime story, and I don't mean that to sound like I'm undercutting the seriousness of the issue or the quality of the issue. I love that because this feels like a very back to basic, back to gritty street level Green Arrow that I want to see. I think that was the mission statement that Chris Condon had too. Is kind of like they said, make this DC's Daredevil. And I melted when I heard that. So we pick up with Oliver kind of just watching TV, finding out that there's things going on. There's crime happening. So he jumps into action, takes out this mugger. I love the line here where, the guy, he basically, shoots the stuff that he had just stolen from the store. And the guy's like, oh God. He's like, no, wrong guy, but I still perform miracles. It's still got the playful joyfulness that Green Arrow has because, he's still Oliver Queen. He's still cocky as all hell. And it shows, right? So he's taking out, the generic street level crime here, but in the background, he's still kind of, I don't know, gaining his footing in Star City, right? He's still trying to earn back like his place being the vigilante of Star City. And through that, he's kind of just listening to the crime. He's trying to figure out what's going on, and he goes to investigate this. And what we're seeing is that there's been high level people amongst a company that have basically been starting to get taken out one by one by one. And he's starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together where this seems like it's kind of like an eco-based crime, right? This is probably like an oil company that is, dumping into, the seawater or something like that. There's something that's going on where there is a person that is not taking kindly to it and is offing these people one by one. And as Oliver is investigating this, he starts seeing things from his past, right? He sees a photo that brings back the memory. In fact, he sees himself in the in the picture itself, and it kind of pulls him back to, the memory of all of these things happening, and it kind of pulls back and it shows the character that Oliver Queen has been in such great runs, like the Neil Adams run, right, when it was the hard, the heroes on the road, basically, right, just kind of like looking out for the everyman and kind of being like the socially conscious heroes, right? And it feels like it's leaning into that idea as well as, bringing it back to the street level so much. So again, this was very much about the setup. It was all just kind of getting Oliver back into the city, investigating crime, and laying the seeds for what is to come from here as he continues his investigation. So we know that there's ties to his past, and he's back slinging arrows, which is awesome. Personally, I'll go ahead and I'll talk about my thoughts on this issue before I kick it over. I liked it a lot. And I think it was a really good introduction to the character again, but I feel like it didn't have enough room to breathe. I feel like we got hints of everything that I wanted in there, but it was nothing more than those hints. If this issue had just maybe a couple more pages, right, to give us a little bit either more background or some other, it didn't leave me with a hook. It left us with mysteries, but it didn't give us that reason to come back for the next issue. I have that reason because I'm a big fan of the character, but I can't say, like, if you were to pick up this book cold and you didn't know the character, if you would come right back, unless something really enticed you, like the artwork. Just needed that one extra page, I feel like, to really entice someone to dive right in. But those were kind of my general thoughts on the book. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I think it was a solid opening issue, and I love the Montos artwork. That was probably my favorite part of it. But it felt like, all right, I'm gonna pack a bunch of stuff into this first issue, and then I'm gonna unpack it over subsequent issues. Right? We got like this cool little opening with the kid on the playground, and then there's the oil kind of, and you're like, oh, what's going on there? And then we go completely to a whole nother scene, and so then he's stopping a crime, and then he's back home watching TV, and then he's out investigating a murder. But it did have elements that felt very Ollie. I love the party flashback was definitely one of those moments. And I love how he gets caught in the apartment, right? And he kind of gets not his ass handed to him, but he doesn't necessarily look like a superhero when he gets a flashlight thrown at him by a cop, and then they kind of tangle, and he has to somersault his way and try to land back on his feet. So that felt really like real and authentic to the character. But yeah, man, a lot of things going on. A lot of exposition. A lot of setup. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't want to say I'm not like I'm dissatisfied with the issue, because I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm trying to find the right word for it. Like, I don't know. I look at this versus like a first issue, like Batman and Robin Year One from Wade and Samney. I like that one a lot more, but I don't know. Those are different characters, and that's hard to compare. But I like the ones that are a little bit of setup in the first issue and not really piling it on, and this one definitely piled it on. So we'll see where it goes, but hopeful nonetheless. I have all the faith in Conovan's abilities, and Montos on artwork. I know he's going to be able to keep up with the monthly schedule as he did with the Green Lantern book, and he did a great job over there. So I'm excited to see what he can bring here.
Yeah, and that's a great bring up too, because right, like I mean that's one of our biggest gripes month over month with a book that has a artistic change. If you don't do it well, it is so jarring for a reader. It is so easy for that to be the potential for people to drop a book. So yeah, so knowing that we can have a capable artist on a book long term, that's going to be an awesome thing. And I think that his stylistic choices are perfect for the story that's being told. So again, it's a good team up. Again, I feel like we're both in the same boat. It was a good issue, and I feel like I'm talking smack about it, and I'm really not.
Yeah.
And I think it really just comes by way of us wanting more, right? And maybe that this next issue in the run is really going to dive deeper into that and give us the thing that we wanted from the introductory issue.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning, a page or two more, I think would have made, would have helped me out a lot, at least as a reader. But
yeah,
regardless, I'm still excited to see what happens.
Exactly. All right, we had a couple more people jump in here. We have the Comic Cinephile. Nice seeing you, bud.
Thanks for coming through.
We have the award-winning Melanin and Manga in the chat. Station. Great seeing you.
Oh, great seeing y'all.
Let's see here. What's Verno saying? Wait till he finds out some people go by a single letter. Oh my God. Verno, why did you even bring? Are you serious? Jesus Christ. All right. Gore is saying Mike Grelt's Longbow Hunters and his long run on the title, unfortunately, has made it hard to appreciate subsequent creators, even good writers like Jeff Lemire. I've heard a lot of good things about the Lemire Sorrentino run. I have not personally read it. That was my time off of DC. Were you picking up the new 52 titles when they were coming out?
I don't. I read that one way back when, and I haven't revisited it since. But no, man, I was not on the new 52 wave. But yeah, I remember really liking that run though.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and give that one a read here. I've always been an advocate of the very short. I can't even call it a run, right? It was 5 issues, I believe. But Brad Meltzer on the book. It was my introduction to him as a writer. And man, it changed the way that I look at comic books. It was that good. And to do that within 5 issues, I don't know. Kudos to him.
Yeah, dude. That was I just reread that one off of your recommendation this past week. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Teaming up with Roy, and a great way to get some history on him while having so much fun with the character at the same time.
Exactly. And the admission of guilt for the character too, which is very clearly, like that's the thing I love about Oliver as a character, is that Bruce Wayne is intrinsically different than Batman, whereas Oliver Queen and Green Arrow, it's very much the same person. Yeah. It's almost like he has almost like a Robert Downey Iron Man type of I don't know, persona to both of them, right? That's his swagger, but he doesn't hide it in either one. So I like that about him.
That's a great comparison.
In Grell's run, superheroes did not appear. Hal Jordan appeared as himself, not as Green Lantern, when Oliver was heavy into drinking. I thought the same about Condon's first issue. Slightly disappointed. Yeah, and it's going to be something that needs time to breathe. Some issues or some new issues are really easy to identify whether or not it resonates with you. This resonated. It's just that it didn't just really hit me.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see where it goes from there. All right.
Some great Green Arrow recommendations. I got to get that Grell run.
Dude, everyone's been talking about that. I think Talk was talking about that one a long time ago. He finished the run, and I still got to take care of it myself. All right. Moving on to the next issue, though. We kind of teased it previously. We have Justice League Unlimited #1, the reintroduction of Justice League here, written by Mark Waid with artwork by Dan Mora. So this issue had a lot of stuff going on in it, and it was incredibly difficult to navigate fitting all of it within the space that we are given here. So trying to kind of make this as brief as possible. Airwave is he's up in the Justice League Watchtower, and he's kind of just poking his head around saying, "Hey guys, I'm here. I got my Justice League card. Where do I go from here?" And Flash is quick on the scene to give him the, half a millisecond tour as he, wishes him around the entire place, introduces him to Clark Kent, Superman. But before they can really, get too far into the introductions, disaster happens, right? And they have to move into action. And I think this is a really effective way at showing the mission statement of what the new Justice League is supposed to be. Since if you're a superhero in the DC universe, essentially you might as well just be a Justice League member at this point, where they're playing with the same ideas that Jonathan Hickman played with in his Avengers run, right? They're picking the right heroes for the right time, for the right circumstances that come up. So they go to take out these mechanical things, whatever they might. Yeah, the wheels, right? I didn't want to just like say war wheels, but yeah. So they're starting to take these things out, and they got most of the heavy hitters here. But in the background here, we also have Batman investigating something that's going on the other side as well. We kind of ping pong back and forth, but I think the most effective thing that this issue did, outside of showing what the Justice League is meant to do, is really showing some of the ancillary characters. So we had Star Sapphire that was there. She works alongside with Airwave, saying, hey, we can save a life, we can help a person. And I love that they took it not at a grand scale, but they just really narrowed it down to this one person, like save a life, right? I love that they took the time to showcase that, show people that aren't the trinity of characters that we always think about, show them working together and show them, saving someone out in the field here. We see everything happen. They kind of introduce the cabal of villains that we're going to be dealing with probably for at least the immediate future here with what was the name of these people? Do you recall off the top of your head?
The Inferno.
The Inferno. There we go. We have no idea who these are, or at least I don't, not having an incredibly intensive background into DC lore. I think this is a new group of villains here, so we'll find out what all this means and what's going to happen here. But the mystery at the end of the issue here is that not everything amongst the Justice League is as it seems to be. And there's more things that are going to be happening here. Seeds are being planted here that are going to cause disaster, right, for the Justice League. And I love that they're already showing us that within issue 1, is that this is a new bold idea, this is a grand vision, and it's not going to last forever. So what did you think about this issue as both an introductory issue and kind of like what they're trying to lay out?
I think it was good. Between this and the All-In Special, we got a good sense of what the Justice League is. And like you said, when they're dispatching, Alpha Team, roll out, you know what I mean? They got the different team classifications with the different power levels, power levels of superheroes. And I thought that was cool. Dan Mora, great job on art, very busy man, obviously, but dude. Yeah, it was cool. I know nothing about Airwave, but it was kind of cool getting the layout of the watchtower and all that information kind of through his eyes. And then it was I don't know. I appreciate that you liked how they brought it down to the one life, but there was 6 superheroes standing around that dude, man. I mean, come on, those guys could have fanned out and helped some more. I was just like, man, how many people are gonna help this dude? But it was cool. It was a cool moment. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I feel the same way about this as I do as Green Arrow. I didn't dislike it, but at the same time, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see, and how it's all going to pan out. It was definitely a great first issue. I love the Mora art. There were parts about it I loved. It's just so busy. There's a lot going on. And I don't know if Airwave is gonna be the guy. If that's the guy we're gonna kind of root this first arc in. I don't know if that's gonna resonate with me like I want it to, story wise, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that's gonna be the struggle, right? With this unlimited roster you have, who are you gonna tell your stories with, and who are you gonna get people to connect with, and are you gonna be able to carry them through arc after arc? I think it'll be interesting to see how Wade handles that balance, and I'm sure he'll be able to pull it off. But yeah, man, I don't know. It was very busy, but nonetheless a cool opener, and curious to see where it was going. I was hoping it was going to have more dark side vibes.
Right out of the gates, though.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I don't know. I was hoping we would follow up a little bit on the All In special and what happened to Booster Gold and the Dark Legion and all that, but yeah, I don't know, at least a little bit, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, you hit the nail on the head in regard to my feelings about this book, because yeah, it very much was the same way I felt about Green Arrow, which is that good. It was good. It wasn't great, but it's funny because it's for totally different reasons. Whereas, like I was saying, Green Arrow just needed like a couple more pages. It needed that thing, that hook to get me to come back. This had the hook, but where Green Arrow succeeded was that it was a singular vision and a singular focus. So we never like were off like looking at other things. Dude, this issue, you're ping-ponging in so many directions at like a moment's notice that it was a little bit difficult to kind of keep your bearings. Go, okay, where am I? What are they doing? What's happening? Yeah. But it wrapped the issue up in a really nice way, and I can see people that have a firm, strong background in DC loving this because of the attention that everyone is getting.
Absolutely. And I know that I've already seen people out there like, Airwave, we're getting, and people are definitely happy about that, and I'm happy for them. I'm glad you brought that up. I did love the end of the issue with Batman and Blue Beetle when he's out there and he's like, we're gonna Batman's on the radio, he's like, we're gonna need some heavy hitters.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, what does that mean?
All those eyes are popping up in the background. It's like, oh shit, yeah. I can't wait to see what that is. But yeah, that's a great way to put it. It did end up. It did, wrap it all up very nicely there at the end.
Yeah. All right, we have a couple of new comments here coming in. French and Spanish artists like to use one name. Well, I feel like a jerk now, and
be
whatever.
Uncultured and ignorant. So congratulations.
I mean, I've been that my entire life, but I make I'll make every conscious effort to be better from here on out. So thank you, Edson. I appreciate you. Let's see here. We have Comic Cinephile. As someone going into Green Arrow cold, I loved the art and being a heavy reading week. I liked how it flew by. Definitely getting the next issue. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Oh yeah.
Because I have a love for the character, I'm always kind of like leery when something doesn't hit me hard. I'm like, oh man, I wonder how like the greater populace feels about this, because I know it's already going to get 5 issues out of me, right? It could be trash and it's going to get 5 issues out of me. Luckily this was not trash by any means here. We got Chiel saying, if one of you guys go back, reread New 52, I will too. Stu, I'm so glad that you've already made the commitments to read the New 52. Thank you for doing the Lord's work. Maybe if I find time, I will go back. I do. I really actually want to read a couple of those runs.
There's a ton of New 52.
I know
that I haven't read that I would like. Jeff Lemire's Frankenstein. What is it? Like Frankenstein and Agents
of Shade. Yeah,
Agents of Shade. Yeah, there's a bunch of like bonkers ass stories I would like to read.
They had some insane creative teams at that time. So like, it's hard to say like I have no level of enticement. Like I will eventually.
Absolutely.
So, and Chiel, you'll be the first one to know. I'll be messaging you. Let's see. We got Sal. It did feel like we were dropped in the middle of a storyline at the start of the new Justice League team. Yeah, it did. It was like, well, and we had I almost said New 52, the DC All In special. Sorry, so that was the introduction. So I guess they had a little bit of leeway there, but I think maybe they took that leeway a little bit further than I was comfortable with, at least. Wine and dine me first, for God's sake. Let's see here. Last but not least here, we have Mr. One Collection down, the host of the all new, all different Blame Fable show, all along with us in the chat here. Always nice seeing you, Fable. All right. That does it for the DC books for right now. Let's go ahead and jump into our indie books here, starting with Hyde Street #2, written by Jeff Johns with artwork by what we now found out to be pronounced as Yvonne Reese. So this issue kicks off, and it's all about Pranky, the Boy Scout character, and we kick off in his past as we learn more about him before he ended up on Hyde Street and before he ended up as the demonic character that we've seen him. So we've seen that he's basically out on this Boy Scout trip. He doesn't know you know, basically how to do the basics of every Boy Scout task that's out there. He's being made fun of by not only the other Boy Scouts in his troop, but the scout leader himself. He has a really terrible upbringing, but that upbringing comes by way of a war hero father. So the police don't want to hear anything about the fact that his dad's slapping him around. You can see that this character was damaged right from the get-go, basically, because he doesn't take kindly to the scouts laughing at him, so he torches the campsite. He doesn't take kindly to teachers telling him what to do when it comes to, you know, dissecting a baby pig, and he mutters to himself, "I'd rather dissect you," basically. Damaged kid here. Not saying that he didn't have reason to be, but this spells out the background on the character so much more. As we move through the past here to Hyde Street itself, and there's a police officer that enters a little cafe that Pranky is in, orders himself a milkshake, and starts questioning the kid. "Hey, shouldn't you be in school? What's going on? How old are you? What's happening here?" Ends up, you know, Pranky mouths off because it's Pranky. He ends up in the squad car, and that's where the real meat of the issue takes place. Is that there's the back and forth between Pranky as they're conversing over, you know, basically what, you know, where the kid should be, where is his parents, what's going on, and Pranky keeps kind of poking and prodding at the officer himself until he basically starts saying, "Hey, I think I hear something in the trunk. Do you know what's in the trunk? Is there something you want to tell me?" And you can tell that he's basically unraveling the mystery behind the thing that this officer did that led him to be on Hyde Streets as a soul that's ready to be captured. Through the distraction of Pranky, they're in a terrible car crash, and it kind of replays the events of what happened and what led to what was in the trunk. And what was in the trunk was a victim of a crash that he had caused, which happened to be a woman that was pregnant with, you know, 9 months with a baby on the way. Could have been saved. Action could have happened, but seeing that he was the responsible party behind this, he took the coward's way out and decided to dispose of that person rather than saving not one but two lives at the very least. And now after that's kind of taken place, we get Pranky doing what Pranky does best, unfortunately, which was, you know, basically dragging that soul to hell. This issue wraps up in such a great way, though, because not only does that happen, but we also get a conversation between Pranky and the scorekeeper of all of this, because at the end of issue 1, we basically saw that, you know, the tracker of all of these different people on Hyde Street and how many souls they've captured, and, you know, who's in the lead and who needs this many and who needs that many. And they have a great conversation about some of the tactics that Pranky's using and whether or not it's going to be tolerated. I loved this issue. I think that this was leaps and bounds better than issue 1 because it leaned way heavier into the horror aspects that I was promised, I think, in issue number 1, where that one felt more hopeful isn't the right way to say it, but it felt like it was, I don't know, there was heart behind it. Pranky's got no heart. He has got like just a hole, a black hole where his heart should be, and that it resonated so much through this issue. Did you read this? What were your thoughts, Stu?
Yeah, I read it. I completely agree with what you said about leaning into the dark side, man. I love the horror element of it. I love Reese's artwork when Pranky gets dark.
Did you call him Spanky?
I called him Frankie.
Oh, okay, Frankie. I was like, is he a little rascal?
But yeah, when he gets dark and evil, I just love the way the artwork leans, man. It's fantastic. I love his little quips in here. I love like you said, saying to the teacher before, I'd rather dissect you than a pig or whatever. And then at the end, after everything happens with the policeman, he's like, you know, turns out I like dissecting pigs a lot more than I thought I would. I was like, damn, like that's a line right there.
For real.
So yeah, this one was great, man. I liked. I hope to see like an issue like this for each of these. I know we really only got introduced to 2 of these main characters on Hyde Street, but I love these backstories, and I'm glad we got more about Pranky in this one. It was fantastic. You know, everything seemed par for the course, and I've been wondering how Jeff Johns would handle horror, but You know, I love the direction this one went in and how dark it got, especially like him, you know, killing the kid, and then we're back at the cabin and he's gonna cut him up, and it was just like it felt fantastic. So yeah, I thought it was job well done all around from Johns and Reese.
Yeah, exactly. And we had let's see here, Rooster Blue joining us. So first and foremost, nice seeing you. Thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he calls out one of the best things, and I'm sure that it caught everyone's eyes as they were looking through this, the Rockwell homage. I really did enjoy that. The artwork in not only this, but like seriously, every single Ghost Machine book is just chef's kiss. Yeah, so good.
It is. And the quality of it, like the quality of the paper, covers, cardstock covers. It's just a great product all the way around.
Exactly. We got Joe also hanging with us. Joe, nice to see you. And we have the question of the night here. Stu, who is your favorite?
It's gotta be Spanky though, right?
Is it Alfalfa or is it Spanky?
It's gotta be Spanky, I think. Okay. Alfalfa's up there, but yeah, definitely Spanky. How about you?
Good. I can't say that I got a favorite. Buckwheat. I take it back. Buckwheat. Buckwheat for the win. Wook and Panub in all the wrong places. All right. And let's move on to our final book of the indies here. Arguably the strongest in my opinion. Yeah. Universal Monsters Frankenstein #4, written and drawn by Michael Walsh. Man, oh man. I loved this issue. I'll save my feelings though before I describe it here. So we start the issue with the framing device that we've gotten from the previous issue, which was that we see one of the ways that we come by one of the body parts that made the monster himself. And I'm not a fan of eyeball things. I can't deal with it. God forbid I ever had to wear contacts. I could not do it. So this was like the most grotesque thing that I could deal with in this issue. Yeah, it was nasty stuff here. But we kind of see probably the most famous scene within the Frankenstein movie, right? Or at least the most well-known scene, which is, besides the he's alive, but it's like the most tragic scene in here where Frankenstein makes a friend and he is not by any means trying to be the monster that everyone condemns him to be, but he also basically has the brain of a child. So the decisions that he makes leads to devastation, which is the death of this girl. I love the fact that they took the time to show that, because really we've been with the boy for a lot of these issues. They took the time to spend showing these big moments of the movie, and this was like the catalyst for the township to really kind of start the pitchforks and fires and go after the monster itself. So the man, the father of this girl here, comes to town, rallies up the troops here. They start going after Frankenstein. We see the boy is still within the town though, right? So he's still an integral character within this story. And all at the same time, we still see Dr. Frankenstein, seeing that the terrible mistake that he's made, the terrible mistakes, I should say, that he's made, as he decides to take it upon himself to make sure that he solves this issue and ends the monster's being by his own hands. The problem is he can't quite do that because the monster is able to take him out. But through this, the monster decides to kind of take him with him, tossing him aside, though, at the last seconds before the township can basically trap the monster, burning him in the windmill itself, the famous things that we know and love. But all throughout this, after Frankenstein, the doctor, is saved, he still has the interaction, the things that we don't see in the movie, the interaction with the boy, where the boy could very easily have taken his vengeance, right? He could have sought retribution for what's happened to his father, but he decides not to because he's a better person, a stronger person, a more, morally righteous person than the doctor ever could be. And I love the fact that the boy, tragedy and all this craziness, still retains his own humanity throughout the storyline itself here. Michael Walsh just did fantastic work throughout the entirety of this, through the artwork, through the narration. It was a very sparse issue in both of those things. I feel like he's a very simplistic artist that makes sure that no line is wasted and no line is in a place where it doesn't need to be. And it's the same thing with his narration. There's plenty of panels where the visual storytelling does the heavy lifting for what's happening throughout the storyline. He doesn't pack words where words don't need to be. I thought that this was an awesome finale for the Universal Monsters Frankenstein series. And arguably, with this end cap, I think it's probably the strongest amongst all of the Universal properties here. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man. I second that. It's definitely my favorite Universal book so far. But the introduction to these issues has been my favorite, I think, part of this series and this story structure. Another gorgeous introduction here. The man on the gallows, the eyes of a monster. I love how it's drenched in those purples by Marie Griffin. That last line, none of you will ever understand before last words from our hangman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, how we've taken those scenes and incorporated these different body parts into this monster, from the first issue with the hands to the brain to the heart and now to the eyes. I just think it's so poetic and such a beautiful framing device, and I've loved that. Dude, real quick, we just gotta, I know you showed bits of it, but I mean, hold on, let me solo myself up real here. Like the eyes of a monster, man. Like these page layouts is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
and it's great every time.
Yeah,
every at the open of every issue.
I was gonna say, and it's great too. It's awesome that you bring that up, because Frankenstein is a story of tragedy, and the monster is a tragic character inherently. And I didn't think it was possible, but this ramps up the tragedy too, because like in this issue and even in previous issues, you see Dr. Frankenstein watching the man on the gallows, not seeing a human being. He saw a prized possession. He saw something that he needed to make his, his aspirations come to be. And that's sickening. It is sickening.
I love that shot where he's like, "Oh, do I unnerve you, Robert?" And he's kind of looking over his shoulder, and he's got that dead, dreadful, beady little eye. You know what I mean? And he looks like the monster himself. Like, and Nick said this on Nick at Night, and I think you're in the chat. But dude, he's got this book did a great job framing and giving us so many quiet moments and so many great single panels throughout. Like, we didn't have any dialogue, but I just thought I loved that. Was like one of my favorite parts of the book. Like how many just great single panels we get without any text or dialogue or anything like that, but just so well done, so cinematic, like Nick said. Absolutely. But yeah, dude, and Tony Marie Griffin, it kind of all culminated here for me in that sunflower scene with Maria. All those greens and yellows, such a fantastic job on this book as a colorist. Really gave it elevated it to another level, I think. You know what I mean? To where this is going to be a timeless work of art. When I think about the art over these 4 issues, dude, it's just so consistently brilliant and so true to itself. And it never took a line off. So congratulations to both Walsh and Griffin on the art. But yeah, dude, and like you said, the pitchfork mob and our famous windmill scene, but man, that conversation the boy had with our mad scientist, and that ending really touched me with the wild horses, and I damn near shed a tear at the end, man. You know what I mean? It was beautiful. It was such a profound ending, honestly. And I'm vaguely familiar with the original tale and property, not as much as some fans and diehards, but I just thought this series did such a wonderful job taking something that so many people know and love and doing something new with it, but also giving us all those beats that we've come to expect for Frankenstein and all those parts of the story that we love. But this was amazing, man. Really, from covers to interior art to the story to the characters to the way it was all told, and some of these gorgeous spreads we got. I can't recommend this one enough. And yeah, I think the art, with Simmons and Dracula was so strong. But the story was good and solid. But I think here, man, the art and the story really walk hand to hand in a different, more impressive way. So
yeah, absolutely. I don't even think I'm mincing words on this if I say masterpiece. Like I truly do
absolutely.
believe, yeah, this is a masterpiece because everything is just working together so well. The sparseness of the colors that you were talking about and the juxtaposition between that and then when we get the scene of the windmill, the fire, it pops off the page because everything else is so cold and uncaring. And when you see like the fierceness of the fire, like, I mean, you feel it take hold over
I loved anytime
single...
we got Frankenstein's face with the flame kind of like playing shadows on it in the series. I love those shots. It was fantastic. Yeah. And we got plenty of them with the torches and all that. So it was I love the way that was done. But yeah, man, I hope we get a hardcover with all the bells and whistles on it for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that we will. But when that day comes, yeah, I will happily be handing over my money to purchase a copy because this is well worth it.
And shout out to Michael Walsh, dude. Incredible year, this and Null Hunter. But, I knew Silver Coin and I enjoyed it. But this has really, really elevated him in my mind and made him a creator I'm going to really keep my eye out for moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this makes me excited for every property that he has coming down the pipeline because, yeah, sign me up. I'm definitely going to be reading it.
Amen, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up the books that we were going to talk about here, but that doesn't mean that we're through here because these books are wrapped up in
all the good ones, you son of a
cover. Well, hey, get on it earlier because
I know you're right. I was plenty late this week.
As I was putting him on there, I'm like, you gonna hate me for this? He's gonna hate me for this. Yes.
You got some great ones, bro. You got some
great ones. Reason Stu hates me, #1. Absolute Wonder Woman #2, cover by Matteo Scalara. I love the tones that he used on this cover. I love that. It's almost kind of like the negative space variants that we've gotten. It's just the single color. Like, everything is so bold and bright, and like it pops as you look at these things when they're coming off the stands. And when you have an artist at the caliber of Matteo Scalara, oh my God, this is gorgeous. I love this. If the price were a little bit lower, I may have walked away with this one. Yeah. Next up here, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't have a Dan Panosian cover on here. So we have Superman #20, the Lois as Superwoman variant here. Again, we've talked about it week over week, man. Panosian has leveled up. I love what he's doing here. Like, he's an artist that just continues to grow and evolve. And I love seeing this next step in his career because, man, he's just killing it.
It's so crazy because I'll go back through so many of my books in the 90s and it'll be like inked by him, and
yeah.
So it's awesome to see his career progression to where he's at now.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least here, I think I got a good juxtaposition or a good mix here of different artists because this is totally different, but we have Jeffrey Allen Love doing a variant on Tin Can Society #3. I still got to figure out how he goes about making art because I truly don't know. There's a lot of different ways that this image could have been created. I don't know his way of creating this image though, but everything is so stark and everything is so sick. I don't know. It's just so good. I love his work too. So those are my covers of the week here. Stu, why don't we talk about what you have as your covers?
Absolutely, bro. Leading off, I'm going to try to start leading off with a cover A. Challenge myself to pick a cover A before I move on to variants. But I just wanted to celebrate Hayden Sherman, man. This one kind of gave me the Action Comics vibes. With the homage with the wreck and people kind of fleeing in fear. But I just such a dynamic image, and like we talked about earlier, this series has been fantastic. So that was my favorite cover A from this week. Moving on to our variants, dude. Art Adams doing Long Halloween. How can you say no? This is fantastic. Just love the look of this one. I haven't seen him do Batman in quite a minute. He's been over on the Marvel side of things, hasn't he? I didn't know he was doing DC variants these days.
It's been a hot second. Yeah, I know he has done them in the past, but I can't tell you the last time I've seen one. So yeah, good call on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a little bit of a hidden gem. Of course, Jenny Frisson's variant for Frankenstein, man, just so gorgeous. Yeah, this one was up against Maria Wolf's variant as well. This series has had nothing but gorgeous variants. I got they had a Mike Del Mundo I got I think for issue 2, but yeah, I could not put this one on the list. Just fantastic. I'd love to see her do something a little different, little outside of her normal wheelhouse. Not that flowers aren't in her wheelhouse, but I don't know, man. I just love the disposition on Frank's face and the yellows in his eyes in the background. I love her coloring work, dude.
It's really fantastic, and she chose the most joyful part of that issue too, which is just leads to everything else that comes down the pipeline.
And it's, dude, that was, we get that right after the guy getting hanged there, and that's basically our intro to the issue, and that's just like 5 pages with basically the only lines being Maria asking her if she wants to play with her or whatever. But man, just so well done, such a great sequence. Couldn't ask for anything more. Yeah, and I had to do Phil Noto for Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, dude. I just thought this was beautiful, just gorgeous. I love his
absolutely,
and I love his chameleon-like abilities on art. One of those artists who can do so many things so well.
Yeah, he has such a classic feel that it still kind of ruminates in like these new ideas and new approaches. So yeah, like Phil Noto, just like great stuff.
Yeah. Love to see more of you out there, Phil. You're a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll do it for covers of the week, man. Moving on to Book Out of the Blue. Bro, you want to talk about Superman real quick? Dan Mora taking over for Jamal Campbell on artwork these past 2 issues, doing a killer job.
Yeah, dude, to call this a book out of the blue, it's appropriate, but also inappropriate at the same time. Because, I mean, it's Superman, but like I talked about it previously. Like, you put me onto this issue. I was going to skip this. There's so much Superman that I'm reading right now between a weekly Action comic, book with Mark Waid, the Justice League Unlimited coming out right now. So I was like, I don't know. Do I really want to dive into this? Dude, thank you. Thank you so much for saying, dude, you got to read this because it's awesome. It is a nostalgia dump if you are a fan of the 90s where, the death of Superman, which, come on, like, who wasn't a fan of that? I don't care what it did to the comic book industry or what role it had to play with that. Dude, like, we all loved it. Like, and this takes those ideas, and just like Doomsday in this issue, it's speaking to the evolution of that. What does that mean now? Doomsday, the character that cannot die, and every time he does die, he comes back stronger. You can never defeat him the same way. We're delivered this Doomsday from the future, basically, who is a wizened version of himself, basically telling Clark, we can keep playing this game, or we can consider what the alternatives may be. The choice is yours, but if you go down this route, death and destruction is coming your way. So make your choice, but just know that I'm in the driver's seat regardless. I love that, man. Like, he just, puts him into action and says, hey, like, the choice is yours. So of course Doomsday comes back. We have the epic fight, which is just so glorious, dude. Like, we talked about Dan Mora on Justice League Unlimited here, but I had more fun in this issue with his artwork and with what was happening in the issue than I did, because it was just like, it was action packed, right? It was just like boom, boom, boom. It hit you with beat after beat after beat of not only the action, but it set the issue up so perfectly with future Doomsday saying, this is the way it's going to be. So we continue to see how things play out, just kind of like sitting there going, oh, do you want to do this, Clark? Is this the way you want to play this? Is that the way you want to go? And that's the way that they go. They try to pull in, some reinforcements to help save the day before the Justice League is actually called into action, because they've all lived through Doomsday. They know exactly what this means. So they call in Parasite, who is a character I don't have any knowledge about previously. And I'm kind of glad that I don't, because he gets sentried right out the gates, man.
Yeah,
like, just, pulled right in half. And they just look on in disgust as they see everything that Doomsday is capable of. They can't stop him. They pause, they kind of hit the pause button as they weaken him and they're able to tranquilize him. But by no means is this the end of the things that are going to be taking place here. And we cut back to kind of the creators of Doomsday saying, like, okay, well, you know, things are now in place. Let's see where we can take this. So again, the mystery is unraveling. We still get a ton of action in this issue, and we spend time with only our main player, so the focus is never taken off of anything else. This issue fucking ruled. I can't even say it any other way, man.
Yeah,
this was a perfect issue. I just loved it. I loved it, man. So thank you again for recommending this.
Absolutely.
I've gushed over it. What were your thoughts?
Well, dude, I loved it too. And yeah, I think any of us who grew up in the 90s with Doomsday, you know, he's always got that special place. And seeing him kind of let me go back a page, thin and, you know, with a staff and like, you know, kind of wise and patient and not, you know, some rabid animal, you know what I mean? And now has a time trapper abilities and, you know, is giving kind of Clark this grace in this moment and trying to help him out a little bit, but, you know, also very, very ominous with you know, the situation and where it's going to head. So it feels super crazy already, you know. And I love that. I was kind of holding my breath when Lois was fighting him, dude. I got to be honest. I thought that was going to really break bad, but you know, him eventually trusting Supercore to let Parasite go, I thought that was going to at least work out for them in some kind of way. And then seeing that story twist and turn was fantastic, dude. And that, like, I just, like you said, with Moore's artwork and how gnarly it got in this one, it was so much more of a fun ride. But yeah, man, everything is like barely contained. Lois's powers are kind of on the fritz. She can only use them so much. You know, she's basically sharing them with Soups. How is that all going to break bad? Because, you know, it got dicey in this fight where, you know, if you know, her invulnerability starts to wear off, you know, and she did get a little bit injured, it's going to be a different story. So I don't know, man. Stakes are high. Dude, this series has been so great. Just from all the way back, granted, it did have some issues with the times, but going all the way back to the beginning with Jamal Campbell and his incredible artwork. I really love the first couple arcs. And I think it's just come back strong here. And yeah, man, my favorite series from Williamson right now. Some of my favorite writing from Williamson, I think, ever. I think he's doing a fantastic job. And has a really great grasp of the character and his history. And I just love how he's playing with all the different elements of it. I don't know, man. I loved I forget if it was this in this issue or the other one, but I don't know how Lois is going to juggle all these responsibilities with being editor at the Planet and, you know, taking over Perry's job and obviously having these superpowers now. But I loved it when there was that explosion or whatever across town and they both find themselves in the closet together.
Yeah.
Getting dressed as I was like, dude, this rule. Like, how do you not love this shit? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just it's so corny and feel good, but in all the best ways. And like, I just love both of them getting undressed and turning like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? Oh, same thing you are. Like, it was just fantastic. So
pure,
so many great moments.
Joyfulness.
Yes, balanced with these dire looming threats and the fact that they barely got this problem. They barely got a grip on it, and it's going to explode back on them if they don't do something quick. So yeah, I like the urgency of it, and also, like you said, the comedy they're able to find. So fantastic job by Williamson and Morrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that does it for us on our books of the week here, but that doesn't mean that comics are over here because, you know, it happens to be Wednesday, which means that new books came out today. Stu, what were you looking forward to that came out today, man? Anything spike your interest?
I have a heavy heart today, bro. It's the end of Zdarsky's Batman run. And, you know, I had such high hopes after the beginning of it and fail safe. It feels bittersweet to know that that's his last issue and things kind of ended the way they did. You know, for as together and unified as DC editorial and, you know, they seem to be as a comic book publishing company right now, I feel like they really kind of dropped the ball with that. And the art transfers from Jorge to Hawthorne that was rough back. That was rough back in the day. And then the story structure, the stories weren't the best either. The Zur&R thing kind of got a little bit tired, and the Joker year one and all that. So ups and downs, but it's kind of bittersweet to me that it's ending the way it is. However, I'm excited to see Jorge Fornes is on art on that one. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. He's one of my favorites. Other things we're looking forward to: Ultimates, of course. Mm-hmm. If not my favorite Marvel book, one of them. Absolute Superman #2, absolutely. And then Prairie Gods, man. That's a book I have you to thank.
Yeah. Prairie Gods has me excited, man. Like that it's doing weird, wild things, man. The artwork definitely draws me in on that one as well. And yeah, we got the culmination of the Battle of the Black Stone as well with Conan too. So we have exciting books coming down the pipeline here. It's a lighter week, but I think there could be some things that are worthwhile on here for sure.
Yeah. It's going to be a great month for comics, I think, overall, though. It's going to be a really great ending of the year.
Yeah. Well, Stu, let's go ahead and wrap this puppy up here, man. Why don't you tell people you can find you next?
Yeah, man. This Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, co-hosting the Blame Fable, all new, all different, Blame Fable and his amazing friend show with Fable, Nick, Talk, Herm, my boy E, Scotty. We'll all be there. There'll be like 20 of us there. And then Brother Joe, of course.
Brother Joe always singing us in.
Yeah, absolutely. Singing us in. Come check us out. Talking just a celebration of all things pop culture and this amazing comic book community that we are so blessed to be a part of. So come check us out Friday nights, 9 p.m. We're going to be every week now, I believe, over on Fable_1_collection_down on YouTube. And then, of course, House of 1,000 Corpses, doing that with my boy Verno over at Blood Splatter Chatter. Tomorrow, me, Verno, Link, talking the Rob Zombie classic. So come check us out there. That's what I got going on this week. How about you, E?
Nice. All right. It's a light week for me, and thank God for that. You can find me on 9-Panel Grid on the Pull List, my weekly comic book review show where I go over all the comics that we talked about today and more. So hit that up, hear my thoughts on all these books here, and do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff here. But that does it for us today. Thank you all so much for joining us here. We had a couple late joiners here. We got Bobby. Bobo, nice seeing you here. We had Mike's Total Dragon channel here. That book is great.
Hello, Mike.
Mike, nice seeing you, dude. All right. Thank you to everyone that was here with us here. Like I said in the very get-go, we're both a little bit under the weather, so apologies for not going down the list tonight, but just know that we love each and every one of you. And if you're catching this on the rewind, we love you equally as much. So it's been nice seeing all of you. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next week.
Station, y'all.